The couple buys a robot to help them with household chores and was initially excited by the robot's wonderful performance, but what they did not realize is that the robot becomes hostile towards them when it becomes emotional towards the wife. But how will they deal with him? Let's find out together. First, Abby and Paul moved to a new house in the countryside, and they really loved its smart home system, including installed cameras and reinforced glass. The realtor showed them the master bedroom and bathroom are in front huge window, but still one room unfurnished, as it can become perfect nursery. Paul unpacks the boxes and gets up, setting up an antique corded telephone in living room. Jokes when the smart home breaks down and you get up. Abby tidies up the tires with their wedding photos, and at the end they check out the rooftop terrace provides a wonderful view. And late in the evening the couple rests on the balcony gazing at the stars. Abby points out horoscopes for her husband, who divorces, jokes about their names and feel that they can be happy here. In the morning, Abby goes to work at an integrated robotics company where working on creating home help. Upon entering, I noticed shots have the face of the president, who he comes to her immediately. He explains to her that it is a new development in real photography or deep fake that accompanies it to section. He invites their family to a party. He mentions her gift from the company. Abby waits for them at home, and in the evening she returns home where her husband welcomes her. He is again unable to find suitable work, and they go to the garage where he is presented with a surprise containing a robot or an automated server. Paul hates it, however. Abby convinces him to try it live with service in for duration at least a week as an experiment. The robot opens its eyes. He introduces himself as Tim, working for technically a company it offers to get passwords, home appliances and personal mailboxes to save human time, but Abby requested postponing this matter until tomorrow. The robot immediately explains her thinking, runs through the water in the bathroom remotely. Later, announces the arrival of the vehicle when Abby comes downstairs and startles her husband with her wonderful appearance. The couple rides in a self-driving car despite the presence of manual control. They head to the party and are greeted by Domo as the president of the robotics company, and drinks are served from before waiters with identical faces. President Abe introduces to his guests, who admits that her husband is not happy with Tim, but the president praises producer Tim. Smart, elegant and polite. Its charge lasts for 100 years. A robot cannot lie. The symbolic phrase is known, and can always turn it off when he comes home. Engage husband and wife in a relationship. Hamima is keen to have children, but their passion is interrupted by the appearance of Tim, and it is their pulse is fast, and it is assumed that they worried about something. Tim was willing to help. Abby finds this very funny. She don't be angry with me, help. In the morning, their new neighbor Rose rings the doorbell to introduce herself to Abby when she met Paul yesterday, and when you leave, Tim asks again about passwords. Paul is not ready to let the computer dig in his letters, but Abby reminds him that they work to rebuild their confidence. He agrees, but they still need to come up with a phrase to deactivate it. Tim suggests a bunch of unrelated words. The couple agrees with Abby. Paul goes about their day when a mouse falls into a mousetrap, and Tim watches it for a while and then throws it in the mill. In the evening after work, husband and wife settle in front TV to watch old melodrama. Abby invites Tim to watch the movie with them, soon puts Paul to sleep, but the robot is watching the movie and he sympathizes with interpersonal relationships. After finishing, he asks Abby to explain to him what love is and propose that love is about wanting to be with someone who makes life better. Suddenly, the robot admits that he would like to be loved. In the morning, Paul offers to make breakfast to his wife, but it turns out that Tim has already prepared everything and sets the pots in front of Abby. Tim identifies her schedule for the day, then he informs her that Paul has nothing to do today. In the evening, Abby returns home to find that her husband's phone is out of service. However, its last known location was 300 meters away the house where Abby goes jogging. She realizes that this is Rose's house. So she takes a shower. Paul finds her and talks about his day and how Rose asked for help, which he did. He asked his wife not to be jealous because he only loves her loyally. The next day, the couple visits a family planning center in hope get help becoming parents. In evening, while preparing to go to restaurant, Abby asked Tim for advice about her dress, suggests wearing red color, and looks to her and admits that she is beautiful because it is perfectly coordinated. Abby tells him to shut up her dress. But the robot's hand fails and he gets up, accidentally tearing the dress. He panics, but Abby calms him down and she wears another dress. And in the restaurant, Paul reveals that he was offered a job in London. However, Abby strongly objects because they have decided starting over and his long absence will not solve their problems. The next day, she came home with a gift for Paul and find Rose in the courtyard that she designed. They have a garden project. Abby is jealous but Paul very excited about the gifted jacket. Later, Abby remembers that she needs to check on pregnancy results, but it is too late to call the clinic. But Tim offers to do so and she listens to him talking to the clinic in her voice. Abby is surprised because she didn't know with this feature in Tim, but Tim assured her it was for comfort owners. In the evening, Paul reported that he could not find the new jacket and that Tim had been away all day. Then a car pulled up to Tim's porch, just arrived, and walked out, explaining that he promises them to return to its original appearance. But after the spouses leave, he spends a lot of time in looking at their wedding photo. The next day, Abby checked in the correct functioning of the robot is demanding president updates all models, including those in homes his employees. The woman heads home and meets by chance. They meet Rose, who proposes to them walking together along the path. That they stop at a show and Rose points out flower-shaped medallion. She loves it, but then Paul comes and takes it. His wife is away to tell her he found a job at returning home. They celebrate in bed. Paul is not reassured that Tim is in the house and he again asks his wife to deliver robot to company. Tim presents. He shows off his new skills by giving Abby a foot massage, which Paul later sees. The robot suddenly sits up on the piano and playing Abby's favorite tune. It lists the dates on which Paul purchased it. They have concert tickets, but Abby, she clearly remembers being at home those days. Then she went to the bedroom, ignoring me for her husband's excuses. The next day Abby comes home with a bouquet and Tim places it on her in a vase and tells her that Paul goes to see Rose, but Paul enters immediately. Then he wonders why his wife is angry at him. Hear what Tim said. The man was angry because he had no plans to visit Rose. He tries to explain that the robot wants to, he separates them. But the woman does not believe him. This is because Tim is just a machine and does not create disagreement between spouses. Later Abby finds a gift bag in the closet, has a chest containing a necklace. Abby wears it thinking it's Paul, then prepare a surprise for her. She goes to work and in the meantime her husband comes down to the kitchen. He pulls out pieces of his new jacket from the mill and checking the cameras about Tim and picks him up in his wife's bedroom as he sniffed her dress. Paul records this moment is on his phone camera. He rushes to the car to catch up with Abby and show her the footage, but Paul's car is in mysterious circumstances do not work. The robot summons the company car for Paul on the road. The car starts to speed. Paul tries I stop the car, but it is not responding following his orders. It crashes into a tree and flips over, and rushing Abby to the hospital where she finds her injured husband and tells her with everything he learned and accused Tim by causing the accident and asking his wife don't do that. It is unique with the robot. She spends the night in the clinic. In the morning, Rose calls Abby's house and Paul to inquire about the man's case and Tim invites her inside later. Abby goes home to pick up some belongings. Outside, Rose stops her to warn her about something, but the woman sees the flower necklace is on her chest and she leaves, ignoring Rose cries. As she returns home she examines the bag and finds that it is Empty. Abby cries when Tim calls her. He knows Paul wants him back. He is ready to tackle the comeback, but he wants to warn her first because its primary owner, and shows her a video clip of the camera is where Paul kisses Rose in their living room, but he stopped recording at the most sensitive moment to protect her from stress. Abby refuses, so she goes to her husband and does not respond to his calls. Later, Paul returns home where Tim greets him and hands him the found jacket, and he tells him that Abby don't want to see it though his bags are packed. Paul he believes it, but then Abby appears to tell him that she saw the recording and knows something about the necklace, and when he started to objecting, she fired him and he left. But on the way, Rose called him. She told him that their robot tried to kiss her. Then the man called home, and when Abby answered, he said he had proof of Tim's malicious intent. Abby asks him to come for her, but after hanging up the call, it turned out that the robot was the one who was talking to the husband. He arrives home where Tim meets him with a shovel. He knocks out the man and ties him up. He drags him to the bathroom, but then Rose rings the doorbell and hears she screams muffled. But Tim assures her that this is just the noise of the water. The robot closes the doors and returns to the bathroom, and the man drowns. Later, Tim brings the repaired dress and asks Abby to wear it, and this thing surprises and frightens Abby, but she wears the dress anyway, and she looks at the sunset asking. He hugs her and confirms that she did the right thing. The correct thing is that he meets her for dinner, then he confesses his love. But she insists he couldn't feel this way. She spent evenings stargazing, but Abby is worried from his encyclopedic knowledge. The next day, she meets Rose, who is talking about Paul's call and about the woman charges, and says she thought it was the necklace. It was a gift from her to help her with the garden. Abby comes home and falls asleep. Footage when Paul kisses Rose. Suddenly I noticed a bouquet of flowers on the table, but she brought it much later than when this scene happened. And then Abby remembers her boss's words about replacing counterfeit products in actual time and connect to the jewelry store. They confirm that the purchase has been completed by the tall blonde. Then noticed plan the garden. However, the photo shows 2 flower beds when in fact there are 3. Abby then sends Tim to the store and picks up shovel and go to the garden. She finds Paul's body immediately. Then Tim approaches her from behind, and Abby is surprised her husband's body was found. But Tim says he deserves it because he never appreciated his wife. Abby realizes what happened. She says the disable statement that freezes the robot, but then re-energizes himself. He changed the phrase long ago where he can speak with her voice and her. She runs home, but the robot has everything, even passwords, and opens doors. He turns off the phones and kicks them out with a kick on the head. Then you wake up and the pigeons try to escape, but he intercepts her. Abby runs across home and cameras break along the way, but the robot still tracks her and catches her in the kitchen where she wanted to open a window while Rose washes dishes and sees strange lights flashing at home. At the same time, Tim ties up Abby and admits that even though he loves her, he has given up for the fact that her life is so limited. This evening will be erased from memory, but he keeps all the good memories only. After that, Rose knocks on the door and Tim goes to answer, insisting something is up, happens, and demands to see Abby, but Tim pushes her away. Meanwhile, Abby is freed and arm itself with a knife, but the robot grabs at her throat, and when Rose drives her car to the glass window, watches Tim and Abby the remaining window that begins to collapse. 1 minute later, Rose rushes in and pins robot on the wall using sharp stake, but she falls too. Tim is extinguished. Abby rushes to the neighbor, but the robot suddenly activates and kills Rose with a kitchen knife, explaining that it will now be thrown blame Abby for the murder because he leaves no fingerprints. Then calls police in Abby's voice and confession by killing her husband and his mistress. Abby tries to stop Tim and says it still has the deactivate phrase, but she would never say those words. Then he prepares to throw her from the balcony, so Abby confessed her love to him and thus Rose by disabling the robot. through these words. That was it. The coded words barely saved her life. Then Abby looked at me, her medical bracelet indicating that she is pregnant. The movie ends here. Subscribe to the channel for more such films.